It's prime time here. We gotta go live. I don't even know if this feeds in. Oh, somebody. It's got to be Ashley. We're live. This is an I told you so broadcast. Well, I mean, okay, so I'm on the train home, and I open my TikTok because honestly, I will find out about something on TikTok before any of the other apps, guaranteed, because of the algorithm. And so I open it up like the addict that I am, like the crackhead that I am, and because things are rapidly developing with the situation in Washington and the government and the shadow government and the Elon Musk kind of coup d'etat that's happening, the crypto coup d'etat. And where's Bob Woodward when you fucking need him? Where the fuck is Bob Woodward? Like the first time around, Trump, remember Bob Woodward had that book, Fire and Fury? Or what was it? What was the first Trump book called? I mean, Bob Woodward was like there, and it was comforting because he had been around, right? He broke the Watergate story, so it kind of bookended Bob Woodward's career. Now Trump's back and badder than we remember him, picking right up where he left off. It's like Biden it was all a dream. It's like it never even happened, that idyllic valley of time, the happiest years of our lives. America's bipolar. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. The world's going to end, it's not going to end. We're in a war, we're out of the war. We're it's the greatest time to be alive ever, and yet it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. Everybody's more depressed. There's mass shootings. It's the cost of living is exploding. It's legit. It's a land of extremes. And I guess they've told us that we like it that way. So I guess we do. The propaganda all tells us that we like it that way. And so we're into extreme sports and extreme emotional crashing out. The highs and lows, like gamblers on the stock market. So anyway, I open it up. The thing I see, it's this press conference, Netanyahu and Trump. The first time, remember, people wouldn't even say his name. Literally for 4 years, people wouldn't even say his fucking name. Because, and it worked. He went away. Now he's back. And no, I don't know. Like, I guess is everybody freaking out? Is it just me? I feel like if you're not freaking out, it's happening so quickly. The campaign was so innocuous. It was Hulk Hogan and YMCA and all these. Shane Gillis is doing an impression, and James Austin Johnson, and people just think he's this funny guy. He's a peacenik. He's going to free Palestine. Even Chappelle's whole fucking monologue was about Jimmy Carter in Palestine, peace, not apartheid. Like, did anybody really think Trump was like on the side of the Palestinians? Like, you're out of your fucking mind. I pulled up an article here, okay? This is something I remember seeing because I read the fucking news every day. I'm a news junkie. It's my problem. This is March 24th, I think. Article is more than 10 months old. March 24th, 2024. I'm pretty sure. March 20th, 2024. Jared Kushner says Gaza's waterfront property could be very valuable. Donald Trump's son-in-law also says Israel should bulldoze an area of the Negev desert and move Palestinians there. Jared Kushner has praised the very valuable potential of Gaza's waterfront property and suggested Israel should remove civilians while it cleans up the strip. Okay, this was March last year. This was during the campaign. I guess the Democrats couldn't really go after them but this is his son-in-law. His son-in-law is Netanyahu's, is his godfather. This is the guy who's married to Ivanka, okay? And we all know how Trump feels about Ivanka, okay? It's his prize. It's his number one thing in life. Trump can have everything, but he can't have Ivanka. But you know who gets Ivanka? Jared Kushner, whose dad is in jail for some kind of insider trading or some kind of SEC violations. We're not exactly sure. I think he got a pardon, didn't he? Or the first time around. See, people's memory is fucking short. This shit matters. You know, it matters paying attention and it matters keeping track. We lived through this stuff. You know, we lived through Trump once. People should fucking know. Even if you're some Gen Z fucking idiot, even if you're some incel or whatever the fuck is wrong with these Gen Z male or whoever it is, if you're some YouTube Twitch addict, video game, no fap, fucking loser, like you lived through Trump once, you should be fucking paying attention. You should be reading about foreign policy if you actually give a fuck. So many people suddenly gave a fuck about the Palestinians all of a sudden during the election because of Genocide Joe, and Kamala was just gonna crush them out of existence with their continued aid. I don't know. They've been asking for a ceasefire. They planned it this fucking way. They knew it would go down like this. They knew the Democrats would take all of the fucking blame for it. And Trump was sort of mum about it on the campaign trail. He's vague about everything. Even the language about how he's talking about this is like completely, he's making it sound way more innocuous than it is. He's like, it's just not a good situation for them. They're very unfortunate. It's not working out for them there. It's been very unlucky for them. It's like they should just be removed, and we should go in and we should bulldoze everything. It's a demolition site, and it can be developed, and it's absolutely insane. I mean, if you were paying attention the first fucking time, one of the first goddamn things Trump did was recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, which the United States had never done before, and was sort of an unofficial, or if it was an official, by the United States not recognizing that, it was sort of like providing a little bit of levity to the Palestinians, because it was meaning that the United States wasn't completely recognizing totally, even though people like to portray like, oh, well, the neoliberals do whatever the fuck Israel says, and for the most part they do. But if they didn't do that, this is why Trump is like the ultimate. He's doing what there is like a coalition of people that want to destroy the government. And there's people who want to do it for a strategic reason because they're going to make a lot of money from it. And there's people who want to do it because they are brainwashed by those people and they're morons. They think, oh, we need Doge to go in there and fucking slash the waste and drain the swamp and freeze all this, all the wasteful spending and shit. This is the narrative we've been fed our whole fucking lives about Washington. Wasteful spending. The government is bloated. They need to go in and cut entitlements and so they print too much money, and government bad. And so in any case, one of the first fucking things Trump did the first time around was recognize Jerusalem was the capital, right? And so he's been extremely pro-Israel. To anybody who's been paying attention, and you're not a fucking retard, sorry. We're all a little bit, if you're paying attention, I don't know. I think most people have kind of given up, or like it's hyper normalization. Now the spectacle of Trump has kind of won out, and just like people think he's, fucking Hulk Hogan insult comedian, arena, pyro, iPad DJ. And he's making big imperialistic moves. At least those are the threats. It remains to be seen if he'll actually get to impart any of this stuff. Who knows? I mean, what We're just getting blasted in the face with these bold choices every fucking day. And to be honest, they're not really what his campaign was about, right? His campaign, people thought, oh, he's going to go, he's going to end these wars. He's going to go and he's going to end the war in Ukraine. He's going to cause peace because he's such a bad daddy's home. His belt is off, like fucking Mel said. The alcoholic, anti-Semitic, fucking rageaholic. It's well documented what Mel Gibson is a fucking psycho. And now he's got some kind of cabinet position. It's insanity what's going on. I mean, it makes Nixon look like fucking he's playing patty cake. What was it? The Saturday Night Massacre? It makes the Saturday Night Massacre look like a fucking tea party. And I'm not talking about the fucking psycho Republican kind. It's like, it's insane. And who's going to stop the Elon Musk spree? Who's going to stop this? The Republicans are in control of everything. The Supreme Court has already shown that they have no backbone whatsoever. They've granted Trump total immunity, more or less, más o menos. So we're all fucked. It's insanity. They want to put the U.S. Treasury on the blockchain. It's out of control. What the fuck does that even mean? It's not real. It's bullshit. It's fucking con man bullshit. There's no such thing as the blockchain. If you believe in it, Tommy will come back with a tack hammer and hit you on the head because you are a retard. I'm sorry. It's not real. It's not real. It's a way, crypto, the reason why all these fucking creeps like it is because it is a way to supersede and topple government. It's dark. It's dark money, right? You can do anything with it. You can buy anything with it. It's untraceable. It's the perfect thing for criminals. And they want to move everything that way. They want to basically suction all of the money and put it in their pyramid schemes and their fucking Ponzi crypto nonsense. And I don't know, probably give it to Tesla or, the other tech companies. I mean, I guess they're trying to, like, these Silicon Valley guys have taken upon themselves to be the founding fathers of some kind of lame new incel republic where they are basically going to topple the U.S. government because they can. They're doing it right now. There's a bunch of 16 to 25-year-olds with broccoli haircuts who've never had sex with a woman before or anything else for that matter. And they're destroying what Abe Lincoln and fucking Teddy Roosevelt and millions of your ancestors gave their lives at Normandy and whatever the fuck, Bull Run, Bunker Hill. They're pissing and wiping their ass with the constant. They're not even wiping their ass. They're like, they're incinerating it like in a fucking, like a Tesla. They're burning it like with a Tesla battery. You know how like a Tesla battery, it's like impossible to put out. That's a perfect metaphor for the dumpster, for what they're doing to us and our government. Like when a Tesla battery catches on fire, it's like, I don't know what it is, the minerals in it or whatever. It's like very hard to put out that fire. Just another great design feature of these brilliant cars from the world dominating genius, Elon Musk, who totally deserves just free reign to just sort of renovate our government and just sort of interior decorate and go in and just reimagine. He's been given impunity. Just go in, do whatever the fuck you want. There's never been any precedent for that ever. Ever, ever, ever. There's never been one person that the president was just like, yeah, this guy's got the keys to whatever the fuck he wants, the treasury, all of the money. Give him all the money. Give him the keys to the fucking bank safe and everybody's fucking Social Security, whatever the fuck, all of the currency. Give that guy, just give him the codes, give him the knock list, give him the fucking it's absolute insanity, among other things. You know, I don't really know that much about this NSAID program, NSAID or whatever however it's apparently it's soft diplomacy, soft imperialism. I heard there was some JFK speech about it on my TikTok about he established it as a way to, I don't know, have diplomatic have a presence to establish freedom. I mean, now, you know, everybody hates America. It's one thing the right and the left all agree on is that Genocide Joe and Kamala are the bad guys. And so just blow it the fuck up. And it's, you know, things like that are the problem. These NS aid programs are like, that's imperialism. That's like us being world homogenizing. It's like the Peace Corps and shit, isn't it? Like they feed people in Africa. I guess maybe that's a way of holding them down or something, or oppressing them. That's the narrative. That's what you know, since Trump got elected the first time, that's the narrative that everyone wants to get behind. It's just like the United States sucks. Burn it all down. It's, you know, we're imperialists, we're racist, we're sexist, we're white supremacists. Trump's the fucking white supremacist, not Kamala, the fucking half Indian, half black woman. You know, so you know, the way they're going after the DEI shit is totally insane. We've talked about that. The way they're using that as a scapegoat and just pinning everything on that is totally fucking racist. I'm just taken aback. I guess I shouldn't be. I mean, this was the plan, right? It is 2025. It's Project 25. They said 25 was going to be the year of the century. I didn't really think it was going to happen this fast, but okay, so the plan, right, with Gaza, according to Trump, is the United States is just going to go there. It's ours now. You know, we're going to Greenland, we're going to fucking Canada, we're going to Panama. It's ours now. It's been, you know, it's been ours. They haven't been paying us for it. You know, Europe hasn't been paying us to protect them. These countries haven't been paying us for all the fucking shit we do for them. So, daddy's home and fucking the bills are due. The buck stops here. And so, yeah, we're just going to have like an occupation. It's going to be a colony. It's going to be like Florida. There's going to be some wonderful properties there, some wonderful Kushner Trump. If you go back, I'm going to have to go find the clip somehow. I'm going to have to get an AI agent or whatever the fuck they call these things, because there is literally a soundbite. I remember saying it because it seemed like a bold prediction to make at the time, and I was a little bit apprehensive about it because I was like, this is not what the popular narrative with people who are like on the fence and people are like sympathetic to Trump. It was like, well, Trump is going to go in and cause peace in Israel. Kamala and Joe are like supporting this genocide that everybody in the left and the right suddenly gives a fuck. Like it's their prime issue. And yet they're not even learning about it. They don't know anything about it. They don't know Trump's fucking policy about it. So how much do they really fucking know about it? You know, if you're judging fucking what Joseph Biden and what fucking Kamala did, you should at least know what the fuck Trump's history with the goddamn subject is. Sorry, I don't mean to yell. But literally, okay, there is a clip of me fucking saying this, that they will go in and level the place and build goddamn condos. Now, I said they'll build condos on their bones. Now, they won't necessarily kill everybody unless they have to. You know, Trump is saying we're going to put them somewhere else, right? Which is an ethnic cleansing. It's just like, I mean, it's like what happened in the Palisades. It's like, okay, they just destroyed everybody's houses, but like they're displaced now. And so they're going to go Trump is suggesting they're going to go live in Egypt and Jordan and shit, where they've already taken tons and tons and tons of Palestinian refugees. Suddenly everybody's a fucking expert about this, or like, I don't know, acts like they fucking give a fuck. They're all wearing keffiyehs, and good for them for like being out there, but like the left is just so diverted. You know, they're so scattered, and they allow the right to spoil any kind of unity. And people did just get they got apathetic, and they got kind of fat and happy. They took it for granted. You know, the Biden era kind of restored a stability. It restored a little bit of sanity. They got the inflation thing kind of under control as much as they could have after printing 5 trillion fucking dollars. Trump printed $5 trillion in 2020, March 2020. It was not Biden. It was Donald J. Trump, 47, printed $5 trillion in the fucking cash bonanza giveaway spree of the stimulus. And Chris Brown got $10 million. And I'm sure, you know, Donald Trump Jr. got fucking millions of dollars. We got that was our severance package from the United States. And Biden went, and he sort of got it under control as much as they could have. But the price of eggs were too much. And the price of gas. And, you know, Genocide Joe and fucking Killer Kamala are just, they're killing babies in Gaza. And Trump is going to go in there and beat Netanyahu's ass and show, and, you know, he's going to get in line. It's like, you're fucking stupid. And so this is more or less what this article says from March 2020. I don't know why they didn't bring this up at the debate or why people weren't talking about this, but this is more or less why I came to the conclusion, this is an I told you so rant, that fucking this was going to be Trump's policy. They wanted to turn it into like some kind of resort for themselves. This is what they do. Or, you know, like real estate development. This is gentrification, essentially. This is what they do in New York all the fucking time. They tear shit down and they put up ugly Trump buildings. You know, that's how Trump made his nut, is in New York. He got a tax abatement, which is basically what Elon Musk is doing now, is transferring wealth from the public coffers into some kind of private development bullshit, aka just rich people with bad ideas. So Trump, what, he tore down some hotel and built his building, right? Or he tore down some kind of some building. This building had like invaluable frescoes. You know, these frescoes on this building. Was it Bonwit Teller? I think it was Bonwit Teller. Where the Trump Tower is now. Bonwit Teller was like some kind of very ritzy, you know, because department store. It was like everything on Fifth Avenue is like Tiffany, Saks, right? There's that Gucci or Louis Vuitton thing is there. And so it was Bonwit Teller. It was this very high-end department store. Trump, if you study, he is a piece of shit. You know, like he's not like this funny fucking like clown. Like he's a piece of dog shit. The way they've rehabbed his public image over the past year, that was like the most impressive part of the campaign. The way they got Trump to just sort of revert to seeming like this kind of like harmless reality television, lovable, like comedian. So anyway, this Bonwit Teller building had these like Art Deco fucking like chiseled, you know, like priceless. They were priceless. And I guess they could have saved him. Somebody offered to save him, and Trump just destroyed him anyway, just out of spite, because he's ruthless, which is why people want him to be the fucking president for some reason, because they want him to go in and do that with the government. People on the right wing legitimately think the government has too much of their fucking money. The government doesn't know how to do things. It would be better if the private sector handled it. That's what this is all about. Get rid of the Department of Education. Get rid of all of the fucking departments of everything except fucking weapons and, forcing women to have fucking babies. And so we're fucked. We're super fucked. And are we scared? I mean, we weren't deranged. People are like, oh, it's Trump derangement syndrome. It's like, well, the guy is nuts. Yeah, America has been like a fucking hypocritical, fucked up, imperialistic, genocidal. It's, if you want to look at it that way, if you want to look at the glass as half empty, if you want to be negative about it, yeah, we killed some people to get where we are. I mean, is Trump saying he wants Greenland really that different than like manifest dust? I mean, if you want to think about it, that is Trump's strategy. It's just all like cynical. It's like, well, they did this before. There's always been bad people, and it's like, that's ours. Panama Canal, that's ours. We stupidly gave it away. It all sounds like very sensical. It all sounds like common sense. Like, oh yeah, we did build that. We spent all this money to build it. Oh, it's all about money. It's all about business. That's our tax dollars we spent to build that canal. Why don't we own that shit? Let's go kick their fucking ass. Let's start charging these Europeans for our protection. Fucking NATO. Why are we protecting Canada? Why are we protecting why are we subsidizing Canada? These fucking wimps. They should, and yet he's already backed down on these tariffs. So he talks a big game. We'll see how far he gets with this fucking Israel policy, because it marks a radical departure. I mean, if you didn't like the United States being imperialistic before, how do you like the United States having like a literal like colony in fucking Israel? Like a joint venture with Israel, or it's in Palestine, in Gaza. Gaza is going to be what, like the U.S. Virgin Islands or Guam or something, or fucking like some base in Germany. Like, how exactly is this going to go down? This is going to be a permanent. This is going to be like U.S. and Vietnam, U.S. and fucking Philippines. I mean, we've had a lot of colonies everywhere, I guess, but it definitely seems like it's upping the ante. How's Iran going to feel about this? Like, look at the way Trump was so confrontational with Iran the first time around. And the first time around, there was a lot of resistance, and there was a lot of people watching everything the motherfucker did to make sure he really was not that effective. This time, they've just swept in with all of this energy, like they have a mandate. They're acting like they do, and they're doing shit that, frankly, is highly illegal, which the Supreme Court has enabled through its bad decisions, granting Trump basically total immunity. And so who's going to stop him? They've already impeached the guy twice. The first time. And people believe that was a witch hunt. And January 6th, he pardoned all the fucking January 6th people, and it could get really ugly. I mean, I don't really know if people, I think everybody's just so nihilistic and ready for life to be over. Like, our lives have just gotten so, like, or at least that's kind of what we've been taught to feel about him is just like, oh God, my life is it's so hard. My body, having a body is so hard. I got to feed myself and I got to work for 40 years. And, capitalism ruins everything and the architecture, everything just seems so fucking hopeless. The government, there's no way out of this system. The billionaires are getting richer. Social media is kind of reinforcing and breeding all of this. And so Trump is just like putting a gun to the head of the fucking world and blowing its brains out. It's like just saying, fuck the system. We're one way or another. The only way to get out of this is to destroy it. This is the guy that is promising to destroy it. And they are. At least, I don't know what. He's gotten into the piggy bank and he's sort of like, there's been a hiring freeze. They've frozen people's fucking payments. They froze the goddamn air traffic. They've offered a severance package to all these federal employees, basically saying, hey, we'll pay you till September. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if by summer we are right back where we were in 2020. We might pick up right where we left off with Trump. We might go right back into a fucking crisis, lockdown, insane, martial law, unprecedented worldwide. I wouldn't be surprised. The way shit's escalating already, it's like, this is a major, major, major violation of every single kind of fucking rights. They're shredding the Constitution. They're giving Elon Musk, who's an unelected, foreign-born, he was an illegal immigrant for 10 years. And just, he has bad taste. He's got an over inaccurate, inflated version of his own intelligence. And we've been having to suffer the consequences. And I've been complaining about it with increasing intensity. It was really a red flag when he bought Twitter. Like that, in a functioning democracy, that really should not have happened. That should have violated all kind of, like, I don't know, monopoly things. And it's just, people should have recognized that so much of the media and so much of free speech and public, like, there are no newspapers really anymore. Every newspaper is just another Substack. And they share their fucking content, if they're lucky, through various social media or something. Somebody will click it on Twitter. And so when Elon Musk bans Reddit fucking links or whatever he wants to at a whim because he thinks, oh, I'm fixing it. Let me put all the neo-Nazis back on Twitter and put J.D. Vance in everybody's feed because I'm fixing it, because they're wrong. They need to see the correct. Like, that's unprecedented for one man to have all that power, as the song goes. And we're fucked. And this guy is fucked. And who's going to stop him? Apparently he's got like 30 bodyguards around him at all times. Who's going to poison? I mean, that's what they do in Russia, right? Is there's always people falling out of windows, and this guy gets radioactive poison in his food or something. It's like, where's the CIA? Where's the deep state? Where's Hillary? I think that's part of the NSAID narrative, is like Elon Musk thinks that this NSAID thing is like a front for human trafficking and all, like, the dark, like Clinton child, pedo stuff, like the Pizzagate shit in Haiti. It's like, oh, well, they use all this government money for this they're sick fucking Illuminati rituals. And we're going to go in and we're going to, like, get these evil fucking bastards. It's like, you got to be an idiot to believe that. I'm sorry, but, like, this is what happens when people have no critical thinking skills. and they just don't pay attention. They don't want to. They don't. They don't know the good information when it happens the first time. They're watching fucking InfoWars and listening to Alex Jones rant about Naboo and Emperor Palpatine and the rebels. The rebel armies are against the globalists. Luke Skywalker was MAGA. Luke and Leia were MAGA. Han Solo was at January 6th at the Death Star, and Pelosi was at the Death Star. Pelosi and Schumer were the Emperor and Darth Vader, and they were insider trading with Greedo. And that's why they don't want Trump in there. They don't want Trump in there because they know he's going to go in there and bust up the child human trafficking with the aliens. I'm kidding. This is all jokes. YouTube, please do not take this down. This is satirical in nature. If the AI is listening, this is satirical. I know I'm going to get busted for that. They're not going to understand my Alex Jones impression. No one ever does. I've been really making fun of Alex Jones as a way of underlining, I don't know, the insanity of the conspiracy, right? Oh, Trump is going to go and he's going to fucking reveal what's really happened in the JFK assassination because he is just blowing the lid on fucking the deep state and all of the lies, all of the fucking lies we've been told. If I get busted for this, damn it, it's because YouTube is trying to censor my fucking truth. They know I'm too powerful of a truth teller. And they have to stop my fucking message. The stream has just been too lit. But you're walking a razor's edge. I mean, hey, on Twitter and Facebook, they got rid of all their fact checking. Well, YouTube, why not? Why not just let everybody back on? Let all the fucking maniacs. Let all the lunatics. The lunatics are running the asylum, right? I think is that what we're seeing? I feel like people worse than lunatics have broken into the asylum. Like the worst criminals I could possibly imagine. The biggest thieves on planet Earth. Like sociopathic, crypto. Like they want to rob and destroy like the entire human race. They're planet wreckers. These guys are planet wreckers. They're trashing shit on an unprecedented scale that no one could have done, 150 years ago. No one could have fucked up the entire planet like this, like these assholes with crypto and God knows what they're going to get into. I mean, they're already making bold policy choices, seemingly with abandon. They've been conferring about it. Elon's been at Mar-a-Lago. What the fuck do they talk about? This is what they were talking about. This is what they've been planning. This is in the Project 2025. There's a whole organization. Who knows who the fuck these people are? They're all slithery fucking losers. I mean, is Zuckerberg on board and Tim Cook and Bezos? They're all on board with Trump's Israel policy. They don't give a fuck. As long as they make money, I guess they don't care. I mean, Zuckerberg is probably pro-Israel, if I had to guess. And, I mean, what about Bezos? Is Bezos? He probably is too. Elon Musk is probably some kind of Christian super warrior fantasy of himself. White supremacist. Does he have any kind of like Iron Cross tattoos or anything we should know about? I mean, the Hegseth chest tattoo, that should have been the end of it. He should have been disqualified right there. He's got a white supremacist, tattoo that is like huge on his fucking pecs. Like that should have been a disqualifier. The fact that the guy is going to have the nuclear codes or whatever. We're in for it now. I don't know. I mean, I don't think the people that are like that weren't taking it seriously, I don't know if they're like cognizant or enough to like register that anything is even happening. You know, the people that voted for Trump or like thought they would vote for Trump or thought it was like less harmful or like Trump was like the radical, rebellious, cool. Oh yeah, it's cool to be fucking MAGA. I mean, do people still think that? You still think that? Dasha and fucking Megyn Kelly? I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Um, so fucking cool. It's so cool that the US is gonna have a colony. And all those Palestinians, they get to move. Isn't that fun for them? They get to pack it up and be relocated. Isn't that everybody's dream? You guys did that with your votes. Your congratulations. The blood is on your hands. The red voters, the blood is on your hands. The people who weren't taking it. So I just don't think that they're like cognizant enough. They don't really know or care enough about the government or what the fuck it does for us, or just kind of like, or not even that, just like the news. You know, when I was working in fucking restaurants, the people in the kitchen knew way more about, they were all very well versed. You know, immigrants, bussers, fucking food runners, whatever, cooks, they all read the fucking news. You know, they were from other countries. They knew what the fuck was going on in the world. They knew what was going on in the geopolitical balance. They knew where the United States stood. They had a pretty fucking nuanced view of like the whole sphere of shit going on out there. American white people, or just Americans in general, don't know anything. They don't know shit. And they really don't. They don't care. They don't want to know. They don't want to know about, they hate politics. They don't want to talk about it. They hate the fucking government. It's all bad. Clinton, Obama, they're all war criminals. They're all the same. Bush, Obama, they're all the fucking same. It's the lesser of two evils, or it's like they don't realize how much effect it has on our lives. It's really going to affect all of our lives. If Trump slaps these tariffs on, or does any of his stupid economic, if they do anything, you know, if they actually do any of their policies, that if people, you know, if the election was actually about that rather than like Trump dancing and his, you know, people doing impressions of him and sort of being endeared to him because he faked an assassination attempt. If it was actually about policies, maybe this stuff would have come out, but the Democrats just had to own the kind of ugliness that's in the air, the inflation, the wars, because it was happening while they were in office. So Trump's sort of got a pass because people went, well, hey, we weren't in any wars when he was the fucking president. It's like, yeah, we were. We were in Afghanistan. He didn't get us out of there. He negotiated with the Taliban. He dropped the Moab. And like I said, he recognized Jerusalem. That was a very aggressive gesture towards all of that was a big fuck you to all the other countries in the Middle East. And if you pay attention and you read the fucking newspaper, because this affects all of us, this affects our lives. You know, now the cost of everything is going to go up by like a lot. And so people who fucking voted for him because of the cost of goddamn eggs or whatever totally fucked themselves. And so what do? There's going to have to be a fucking civil war or something, probably. Not to jump to any conclusions, but like if they continue to force these kind of policies on people, we're going to have to say no. I mean, maybe I'm being like the guy in school that like flinches when the bully like pretends to punch him, but you know, what's going to happen when Trump, if he decides to invade Canada? Like, maybe I'm an idiot and a wimp for even believing that that's what he actually believes. You know, like with Trump, people are always trying to say, well, he's actually doing this. You think it's about this, but it's actually this. He's distracting you from this. That's what his real plan is. It's like, I'm so fucking sick of hearing about what fucking Trump's real plan is. Oh, it was really, we had to sit through this once. We watched this movie once. This is like Jason Goes to Hell. It's too scary. We didn't need a sequel. It was unnecessary. It was like Meet the Fockers. Didn't need to be a franchise. Or Zoolander 2. Didn't need another Trump fucking movie. But, yeah, he's always, this is a distraction. He's trying to, and it's true. Like, he is trying to flood us with overstimulation and just overwhelm us with fucking a flurry of punches with just like, oh my God. Every day it's some new startling. And it's his imagination. It's always bold. Like, we're building a wall. We're making Mexico pay for it. It's always these bold kind of like astonishing or like startling. He's an upstart. Oh. I'm sort of like in a indignant. You're gonna take back the Panama Canal. You're gonna invade Greenland. You're gonna invade Canada. Like, wasn't that the plot of the South Park movie? Blame Canada. Do they have DEI in Canada? What's their land acknowledgement policy? Did the land acknowledgements work for everybody? Or do we still feel good about the land acknowledgements? I mean, Trump, they're just using it to, the way that they're going so hard on the anti-DEI thing is just like, it's so fucked up and absurd. And we will be we're watchdogs, okay? That's why I get on here. I get on to counterpoint and to speak my objective truth, because somebody has got to be a voice in the fucking wilderness. And we're in for it now. It's like once the roller coaster fucking starts, you got to ride the whole 4 years. So maybe it'll be like Dinosaur World and Uncle Martin will just crank it up too fast and the thing will break. I mean, that's the way. Okay, this is something I keep seeing on Decadeology and various like political Americans. They have realized this, that like, oh, the pendulum swings back and forth. That's the way that you like can predict presidential politics or whatever. The government is like, okay, well, we had Bush for 8 years and then people got sick of that. So it swung to Obama. And then we had that for 8 years and people got sick of that. So it went to Trump and then Biden and Trump. And it's like, people think that, okay, well, now we have Trump and yeah, things might seem crazy now, but 4 years from now, the pendulum will swing back the other way. And in the midterms, this pendulum will swing back the other way. And it's like, I think the pendulum might just break. I'm not sure the pendulum is going to swing back. The pendulum might just break off. That's the way that it seems. I don't know if there's going to be a pendulum. They're just going to fucking take the pendulum and like steal it. They're stealing the pendulum. Okay. They're going to steal everything. It's all going to go into crypto. And then from there, it's going to just like be incinerated faster than you could burn all of the money. Crypto can just make everything vanish like that. Like instantaneously. You could just lose all of it. And so I don't know, and cash it in now. Is that how crypto works? Like, let's say I had $1 billion in Trump coin. Could I just cash it out and just get my cash now? Or how does that work? Will that be taxed, or do I have to, like, does that have to be transferred to other crypto things, or can I use there's, like, certain bodegas that are like crypto bodegas, which is, like, kind of the stupidest thing I could imagine, but our world is just moving further into the stupidest, worst policies. That's what sucks about it. That's what sucks about being alive now, even though it's the greatest time ever to be alive by far. It really just feels like things could easily be so much better. Look at how well they're doing in China, for instance. Things in this country could be so much better so easily, and we're moving really into the dumbest, most, like, this tech finance alliance, and the way that those types of people have just sort of moved further and further into that world of tech and apps and software development and shit. Venture capitalists going in, funding companies, but, like, also having an agenda about what they want the company to do and how they want it to function, and shaping the algorithm and shaping our lives, really, because we all are, the phone is like this unprecedented behavioral modification. I mean, they can go into every single person individually. With TV, it's like they're casting this broad propaganda brainwash wave, where it's like they're trying to get everybody across the whole country. And I think that's a lot of what Trump is about, is sort of like people seeing through the mass media, legacy media, kind of like tr- brainwashing of which the DNC is still living in that. The DNC is still trying to, like, mandate public opinion by saying if you don't vote for Democrats, you're a racist, because Democrats are the party of everybody who's not white, and that's what the media has always told us. Um, Now they can go in, and I mean, especially look at TikTok. I think this is one reason why they have an interest in wanting to buy it and creating this, whatever the fuck it is, United States Wealth Fund or whatever. What the fuck is this? Like, no fucking way is that going to be used. It's a slush fund. He's saying it. He's basically saying it. It's like, how is that different than taxes? Explain to me how that's different than taxes or like a budget. Oh, we're creating this wealth fund. Well, how are you doing that? Oh, we're taking money from people and then we're putting it into a thing and then we're using that. It's like, that's fucking taxes. I guess this wealth fund is going to be from tariffs. That's his fantasy, is like, oh, we're going to change the whole way that we finance this country by getting rid of the IRS, getting rid of income tax. We're going to tariff people and we're going to create a wealth fund, which is going to pay for things like buying TikTok and nationalizing it, which I don't know if he really means nationalizing it or like using it as a propaganda wing. And like I'm saying, like a behavioral, the TikTok algorithm can go in and really, I mean, with Instagram and Facebook, they've really got your friends and family. So you're like, they can get into your personal relationships and your DMs. They can see who you're DMing and who your profile you're looking at and blah, 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 blah. And they want to. I mean, don't tell me Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have an interest in that, in governing people's personal interactions and shaping that. And that's, they're doing it. They've been grooming us politically to think certain things, that in that sense, and they can adjust that. It's everybody's in their own little demographic, and they use us all against each other. They use people of certain identities or certain looks against other people, with better lifestyles than you. Social media just bludgeons you over the head with FOMO and senses of inadequacy. And then that is also weaponized politically. People are sick of DEI. They're sick of woke because that's all social media became. Social media was just like this endless guilt fucking trip about how white people suck and how everybody who's not white is awesome. That was the way that people politically tried to counter Trump. And who knows what the fuck it's going to be now? I mean, now I love DEI. Now that Trump hates it, I want to be Mr. DEI. I want to be super woke. Now that Trump is anti woke, fuck him. We're going full DEI. We're DEIing the fuck out as much as we can. Well, I mean, now it seems like okay, the first time Trump got elected, it felt like people in this country had a certain comfort and a certain standard of living and a certain freedom or whatever that all of the social justice warrior stuff was kind of like an affectation. It was like a pretense, or it was like a luxury. We weren't really, the we may have been fighting Nazis, but they weren't really like beating at our door or killing people really. The first time Trump was around, it was a lot of performative activism, and like people had time and energy and uh I don't know, like a kind of like a privilege of self-righteousness or something, because there weren't actual consequences really. Whereas now it's like I don't know how far they're going to be able to take shit, but um even just like where we're at as far as like standard of living and uh where our country's at from 2016 to now, it's like we're already kind of like weak, or like I don't know. We've all been through the ringer for fucking 8 years about one crisis or another, and just like we're worn down by it. And so we don't have the same kind of privilege or like luxury to choose how we want to protest like before. Now it's like these policies are just rapidly being rolled out before anybody even knows what hits them. This shit is happening. And how do we actually fight it? We don't have time to squabble over fucking pronouns and shit, basically. And I do think that it's important to it is ridiculous and illegal that Trump asked all of the federal employees to take their fucking pronouns out of their emails or whatever. It's like, if you want to have your fucking pronouns, or if that's important to you, then by all means do it. Like, it shouldn't be, it's insane that it's a federal policy that they're just getting rid of it. That's a huge step backwards. All of his fucking policies, right? They don't want trans people in the military or something, right? Or it's like these policies are not only like not progressive, but they're actually like legislating something that is like taking us way back. I mean, like, granted, I've been sort of a, counter, I, I've been supportive of woke politics, but I've tried to explain the nuance of it and be a little bit of a voice of dissent within it, because there are things about it that uh just like backfired, like blaming fucking people, blaming white men for every fucking thing backfired because, and they ran a better campaign. The Trump campaign was, they understand that it's about the performance and it's about entertainment value to most people, because most people in this country have been trained to just hate the government. They don't care about the news. They don't want to talk about the news. They don't want to talk about politics. They don't want to think about politics. They don't want to know anything. They just want to play video games or watch fucking TV or sports and hide their fucking head in the sand. Or like people on the left, it became super cool to pretend to be political without really knowing what the fuck you're talking about at all. And so that was also, not that, like, there's a lot with woke politics that is important and is progressive and is essential and is a cornerstone. But going forward, how I can't imagine, even for myself, it's like I can't imagine being that enthusiastic about participating in some kind of movement that's just going to blame me for everything again. Or just, if it's going to be the same kind of like self-righteous, just like forced, it's just forced. Everything about it is forced. And that is why people kind of reject it. Like there was an organic way to make this happen, and to make it happen in a way that just like is actually going to like serve us best. People thought that the best way to like fight Trump was to like get pissed off at white cis male everything, and it has been an important reckoning and an important look at that and an important taking to task of that culture. But I mean, now look where we're at. Look who's sitting in the front row at the inauguration. Bezos, Musk. It's all white guys. Zuckerberg, Trump, RFK Jr. I mean, I've got an article right here. Metro.co.uk. When is this from? January 14th, 2025. This was before Trump came into office. Why alpha male domination is the theme of 2025. Men like Trump mean nobody feels safe. So it's like why 2025 will be the year of the alpha male. It's like this is the backlash. And I guess it's the pendulum. Once again, it's the fucking pendulum. Not that the pendulum really swung any way but at white men for eons and eons. It swung the other way for 8 years, and people got so pissed off about it that they had to break the fucking pendulum off and steal the pendulum and just toss the chess table over. They don't want to play anymore. So it's rough out there. How are we going to survive? We need each other now more than ever. Sorry, I got another viewer. I'm nervous now. I've got 3 people watching. Oh, this is something I wanted to talk about. This is something in the comments if anybody ever watches this later. Does bread actually soak up the alcohol? Is this an old wives' tale? Is this an urban legend? The myth, right? If you're a drunk or like you drink, like I grew up to do in the Big Ten. I went to a Big Ten party school. And so, you binge drink every fucking weekend. It's what you live for in your desperate little football-addled, corporate educated lives. Did J.D. Vance go to Ohio State for undergrad, didn't he? God damn it. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed to be from the same state as J.D. Vance. I cannot reiterate that enough. But yeah, you would, when you drank, I used to, I could, as you might have guessed, I don't have a high tolerance. I was what they call, and forgive me, I'm about to use a slur. Well, I won't say it. A 2-beer, and it rhymes with beer. Starts with Q. That's all I'll say. Because I'm not a hateful person like these fucking Trump racist, sexist, white supremacists. I'm a libtard, okay? I'm a woke tard. But yeah, does bread soak up the alcohol? There's no way that that's true. I mean, it's one of those things like, oh, the earth is flat. Yeah, it makes sense. I see it. It's flat. It looks flat. That makes sense. You're like, oh, yeah. In my head, I'm like, I can see the bread. Like, it's like when I'm dipping bread in gravy. It soaks up the gravy and then I eat it. It's like, yeah. So it's going into my stomach. I feel the booze in my stomach. It's like soaking it up. Maybe it fucking does. To me, I've always tried to have strategies for like not to be hungover the next day. Drinking water, eating, like carbohydrate laden bread type food, smoke, whatever it is. There doesn't seem to be any cure all for the hangover. I can never predict when I'm going to have a hangover or why or how to prevent it, how to treat it, how long it's going to last. There's all these kind of like, oh, you just got to, you got to go to a diner and get some kind of like gut buster, barnyard buster breakfast thing. That's the best hangover cure. Bloody Mary, hair of the dog. I'll tell you, the person who comes up with the cure for a hangover, they'll be the first trillionaire. They're the ones who are going to take us to Mars. I said, Elon, go get him. I said to Elon, go get him. There's these astronauts lost in space. I said to Elon, go get him. Give me a fucking break. Everything with Trump is like some stupid, like, fucking anecdote. Some stupid little story or moment. It's totally like Hollywood kind of punched up TV bullshit. It was just, they had the most wonderful piece of cake. He's sick. He's a sick man. We're all fucked. You people that didn't take this seriously, we blame you. Like you gave a fuck about the Palestinians. They're really fucked. If you actually gave a fuck about the Palestinians, I don't know. But there's also this huge propaganda apparatus, the manosphere, YouTube, whatever it is, that is in place that was there to make it seem like Trump was the anti-war candidate. That was a big part of the reason why people voted for him. Because Biden and Kamala just couldn't get any kind of ceasefire or anything. And Trump was going to go in and I don't know. I mean, he was talking about the tariffs on the fucking campaign trail. That was like one of the main things he did talk about was fucking tariffs. The most beautiful word in the language, tariff. He just learned what it was. That's why he's so psyched about it. He never fucking heard of it before. Sponsored by Utz, Ridgies. These used to be $1. 10 years ago, people who knew me, I used to get a kombucha every day. I had a multi-green kombucha. I used to remember the chia seed kombucha, the green chia. Holy shit. Now that was some kombucha right there. The SCOBY. I used to walk down. This was 2013, 14. I was 15. I used to walk. This was the fuel for my poetry. Life was so much simpler then. 10 years ago, who would have predicted it would have changed this much? I mean, this is why we've come out so hard against Trump, because we knew that he was going to fuck everything up royally. And it was going to be a long, slow death. And people want to kill this country for all the wrong reasons. But it's just going to get worse. That's what they don't get. It's like, yeah, the Democrats suck, but like, if you're not an idiot, you understand the Republicans are way worse. And granted, like the Democrats, that is like, Bernie is the evidence, right? That the Democrats suck. It's like they screwed Bernie, and so that's why we can't vote for them, because they screwed Bernie. Like, that makes them worse than the Republicans. Like, the Republicans, Trump got through. He made them his subservient, his slave, his sex slave. And they love it. They love Daddy Trump. But, so I'd walk down to the bodega, get a kombucha. Utz chips were $1. Kombucha, $3.99. I don't think the price of kombucha has gone up. I think the popularity of kombucha has gone down. I don't think it's quite all the rage that it once was. I could be wrong about that, but maybe it's just me. It seems like people are not drinking as much kombucha. Is kombucha a millennial phenomena? Like, what's the read on? I think that will be like a hallmark. The happiest times in my life, I was drinking kombucha. But I just couldn't. It was too expensive doing that. My $4 a day kombucha habit. It was like my treat to myself, right? Back when I was healthy. So now the Utz are $2. They've gone up 200% in price. Talk about inflation. So everybody's feeling the effects of that, the frustration of that. And like some confused wild animal that's in pain, just lashed out in any direction that it could to try to get some kind of control of the problem, and voted for Trump. I mean, was anybody paying attention to him, what he was saying? Or now it's like, once again, all of a sudden there's like this rush to like be super analytical politically and paying attention to what he's doing and everything that's going on. It's like, where the fuck was this energy 4 months ago when the fucking election was happening and it actually mattered? Now it's like we're fucking stuck with this for 4 years. There's nothing we can do. But it feels like you have to pay attention. It's a matter of survival almost, because it's like, it's going to affect our lives. If they cut Medicaid, right, that's probably one of the first things they'll do. If they want to get rid of expense, right, in the federal government, the biggest parts of the federal government are the defense budget, Medicaid, Social Security. I think they're about the same. If you weigh the defense budget and you weigh the entitlements or whatever, Medicaid and Social Security, I think they're both about the same amount of money. Except one of them is for death and one of them is for life. And so, what they should cut, obviously, is the military budget, because it's just so fucking hateful that it is even what it is. It's $800 billion. It's absolutely fucking nuts. And shame on the Democrats for being fucking complicit in that. The Democrats, I think they had an idea about America as leader of the free world post World War II. It was important for us to be the leading democracy or democratic republic that all these other fucking democratic republics sort of imitated in Europe and everywhere. It was us versus the commies or Russia and China and all of the people that imitated them. And, there's obviously a lot of that is propaganda and imperialistic bullshit. But, uh, we are facing a moment where, like, we're trying to assimilate a globally connected culture for the first time. And so this is like the throes of that and the kind of adjustments of that and the kind of heave hoes of that and the seasickness of that, the growing pains. Um, and I guess it is a natural part of the cycle for the American uh exceptionalism or whatever, America leading that idealistic post New Deal, hypocritical, not perfect, CIA going in and overthrowing governments and killing democratically elected leaders or, tons of dirty work. That's a part of American history of a long line, but I mean, people act like America's the first fucking place they ever did this. And like, I was reading, or what was it? There was some video or something I was watching. It's like the history of anywhere is the history of them fighting the people next to them and trying to kill them all. It's just like there's always fucking the French and the English are fucking trying to kill each other for 1,000 years, like there's always these fucking racist provincial misunderstandings and horrible acts of violence. And yet, particularly since 2016, there's been a real focus on America as being just like the worst fucking country and the way that we fuck over all these other countries with our colonialism, our colonizer fucking imperialistic mentality. We have military bases and it's the exact same narrative. If you listen to the people on the left, the radical left, and you listen to the people on the right, they're saying the same shit. Trump says the same fucking shit that, like, an Antifa person would say, which is like America sucks and we've done bad shit or it's nothing new. The government sucks. And so now we are where we are. It's going to be fun, right? The memes are going to be great. Barron. Well, how about that Barron Trump, though, huh? That's going to make everything okay. I'm just going to bitch about it. Fans of my live stream. This is going to, I mean, now it's going to get really good and useful. Now it's going to be, this will be an important, I know people are going to want to hear me rant about my extreme left wing politics for the next 4 years, but that's what this is for. That's part of the reason why Trump was this sort of like figure of the moment in 2016 is like suddenly we had these channels, we needed content, and everybody got on fucking Twitter, everybody got on Instagram to protest or to be political. It fed the feeds. And did the infographics work? Every like hot chick has spent the last 8 years, like every political thing. Every hot chick is just like whatever the social justice like infographic. Like here's how you donate to, black prison fund or whatever, black owned businesses. Here's how you donate to Palestine. Here's things you can do to help. It's like I'm a hot chick. I know people are looking at me on the internet, so I'm going to try to use my powers for good because I'm a good person, because I'm a hot chick. And why did God give me this superpower? So I have to be a good person to sort of like pay it back. And so I'm concerned and I'm political and I'm left wing, obviously, because I'm a woman. I don't hate myself like Megyn Kelly or I don't want to be trad Kath and go back into that fucking servant mode. And so infographic, everything on fucking Instagram was just like, Jesus Christ, all of these ugly, minimalistic. They all look like they were made in Canva. Okay, so now I've got nobody watching, so I'll take a little break to smoke. Maybe that'll make my viewership go up. I am going to do 2 hours. Not that anybody's watching or will watch later. Okay, here's another thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, so now that I'm a certain number of years old, am I too old for the Yale Younger Poets Prize? Not that I ever was going to win. Not that I ever expected to win. Or even apply for that matter. Let me look it up real fast. Let me see if I can get an AI answer. Age limit. Oh, really? Poets? It's open to poets of any age. Well, that's kind of ironic. You'd think the Yale series of Younger Poets Prize would be, you'd think if anybody knew what those words meant, it would be Yale poets or the judges. I guess if you're over 40, you still qualify as being young. So, hey, I can still win the Yale Younger Poets Prize. Fuck yeah. It says 2015, they lifted the age restriction. That's kind of, I don't know. There's just no standards anymore. Is that some kind of DEI thing? They don't want to be ageist. The Yale Younger Poets doesn't want to be ageist. Even though it's called the fucking Younger Poets. Well, it has to be your first book. You can't have published a book before. So, in that sense, I suppose you're young as a poet. Maybe not a person, but for a poet, you can be young. Hey, I could win. Who's the judge? So yeah, that's a good news. All right, that's my good news for today. I mean, they're raising the ages like of all of that stuff because economically they know that we're just fucked and we're still young. We haven't developed like when I used to try to go to theater stuff, right? You would try to get deals. One of the few ways you can get deals, like a lot of these institutions or theaters, they'll offer like, okay, if you're under 30 years old, you get like a youth benefit, because they want young people to come see it. Or, I would use my student ID, right? Until I was like 30 plus. I use my Buck ID. I wonder if I still have that. Do I still look like my Buck ID? I wonder. I probably basically do. I mean, the ID probably, I don't even know if do they even do that anymore? They probably have some kind of fucking phone way of doing it. But yeah, so they've had to raise the age. Like it used to be, I think I went and saw some stuff at the public theater, or I went to theater for a new audience. I think it was, I don't know if it was $20 for under 30 or what. But I feel like they've had to raise those ages. We're still broke. So now it's like, oh, if you're under 35 or under 40, you still get a discount. You still get the youth discount. If you're under 40, it's only $20. Or they're going to have to keep raising it. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to afford anything in the arts. Not that I have been. Not that I've been going to any of that stuff, but that's why I do poetry, because it's basically, they don't charge for it. They can't. Nobody would pay to go to watch poetry. Not in the Age of the Eras tour. That is the poetry that people pay to go see. All right, so man, I'm still eligible for the Yale Younger Poets, and I will be until I die. So it's either like I'll publish a book, or I'll win Yale Younger Poets. Okay, what the hell else should I talk about? Should I talk about the open mic last night, or does that hold interest? Oh, Neil Simon. That's right. I got to talk about Neil Simon. Enough about Trump for now. Although this will be a, recurring, ongoing subject for fans of the pod. Get ready for an onslaught of hyper left-wing politics. Ill-informed. Somebody's got to, the way I look at it is I have to represent like the kind of dissident poet point of view. Like the academic poets don't have the balls to say anything. No one is doing this. No one is going direct to the people on YouTube, even though I'm being heavily shadow banned for my truth. And have been, because I was the only guy who got it right about Trump and Israel. I was the only guy who got it right and was calling him on it actively. But yeah, I will be talking about this. Yeah, I should talk about Neil Simon films and this is my movie review. And also we just saw The Last Showgirl with Pamela Anderson and Batista of WWE. I like Batista. I thought he was pretty good. So maybe I'll talk a little bit about that too. It was interesting to see it at this moment because it felt like it was about Hollywood. It reminded me of the circus. It felt like it was about movies. Charlie Chaplin, The Circus, is kind of about the end of the silent film era. But the way he tells it is through the metaphor of the circus, right? The circus, that kind of institution ending. And this sort of Ubisoft, right? Where are the snows of yesteryear type thing. We had these, and that's just the story of life, is like we're lucky to have these times in a room together where we're really cooking and sustain it for as long as we can. Like Neil Simon, how many people remember Neil Simon or do his plays anymore? And yet for 40 years, basically, he had a hit. There wasn't a time, that he didn't have a play or two or three on Broadway and in the movie theaters. And in fact, they named a fucking theater after him, I think, while he was still alive, in a way that they'd never done for anybody. And so, I mean, that's sort of what The Last Showgirl is about. How in show business, they just kind of use you up. And at a certain point, you're old. And it's over. Your show's not hot anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. You're lucky if you have a period where you are the hot thing for a second. That's what's tough about show business. It is hard to like stay relevant and stay cutting edge and hip and cool. And it's, public opinion really shifts, and it's one of these pendulum things. where it goes back and forth. Look at Bob. Bob Dylan, it's just like there's been decades where people just thought he was washed up and garbage in the 80s. All the albums he put in the 80s, nobody liked them really when they came out. I mean, compared to the shit, bringing it all back home or whatever. But you listen to it now and you're like, oh, this is pretty fucking good. That's the way I feel about a lot of these. I think, the way that the media is disseminated, like if I was paying $15 or $20 for Knocked Out Loaded on vinyl, maybe I'd be pissed about it. But being able to listen to it on the internet for free, it's like, oh, this is pretty good, actually. And I feel that way about these Neil Simon movies, kind of like, okay, if I saw this in the theater, would it be, like some kind of like epic, life-changing, like return on investment? Like, no. But it's actually, watching it on the internet, you can actually really kind of appreciate it, and it's really pretty good, actually. So I know people are jazzed, and they're just dying to hear more about my ongoing. We're gonna watch every fucking Neil Simon film, okay? There's a lot of them. There's multiple versions of many of his plays. There's an original and a remake or a sequel of like a lot of his plays. So you're not only watching it once, you're watching The Sunshine Boys twice. You're watching The Heartbreak Kid twice. Ashley really wants to see the Heartbreak Kid remake with Ben Stiller, that's got to be that's a huge red flag right there. That's definitely a sign of something is not right. If you want to see the Farrelly Brothers remake of Heartbreak Kid with Ben Stiller voluntarily, something is not quite right, I don't think. God, my it's so awkward because it's like stumbling into a room, and there's nobody in there, and then you're like, whoops, I'm in the wrong room, and then you just leave. Sorry, I didn't mean to come in. That's what it's like coming into my live stream. It's like awkward. It's awkward for somebody to come in and like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. Didn't mean to interrupt. Wrong room. I'm in the wrong room. Sorry. Yeah, so the Neil Simon epic retrospective. The retro Simon spective. This retro spectrum. It's epic. I recommend everybody do this. This is going to be my new thing. This is like the Gertrude Stein marathon. It's like read Maximus poems. And read Zhukovsky A. I was looking at the cantos today. How would Ezra Pound feel about Trump, do you think? Do you think he'd be jazzed about crypto? Do you think he'd be jazzed? Would Ezra Pound have been at January 6th? He'd probably be in the manosphere, don't you think? I don't know. I think Ezra Pound would probably be against Trump, actually, because it's all... Crypto is like the ultimate, like, usury or whatever the fuck. Everything that Pound is bitching about is like the same shit as Peter, Michael, Joseph, and Zeitgeist. It's all about interest and printing money in the Federal Reserve, and how every time we print money, it puts us in debt. And like, I don't know. I can't imagine crypto is like a more legitimate, better method of finance. What would Ezra Pound have to say about crypto? The fascist. He probably would have been at the inauguration next to Theo Vaughn and Rogan. Would Pound be on fucking Rogan? I mean, David Mamet was. David Lee Roth was. How does Rogan not have more women on? Like, even from like, like I understand, like, he doesn't have to try to be, like, DEI or anything, but it's like, dude, your show is, like, 98% male. Like, you don't that's not, like, something you wanna work on a little bit? Like, the only woman I can ever remember seeing on Joe Rogan is Miley Cyrus. I can't remember ever seeing another woman on Joe Rogan. Like, that's you gotta do better. Like, you don't have to be, like, fucking, like, super woke, or anything. You don't have to be RuPaul's Drag Race, but, like, how do you never have any you don't think women have, like, fucking shit to say? You don't wanna hear I mean, it's obvious, I suppose, why there's no women on Joe Rogan because he's a fucking meathead who probably is uncomfortable around women, but it's the biggest fucking podcast, right? In the world, right? Or it was, or I mean, it elected the president. Unfortunately, it ended it ended the American experiment. Seems like there should be some women on there. Maybe this wouldn't have happened. You know who would have been a good woman to be on Joe Rogan? Kamala. But apparently she was a huge diva about it. And so, I mean, she was the vice president. The common voter just couldn't relate to, like, the fact that, she wanted to do a short interview and she wanted to know all the questions and she wanted Rogan to fly to her. Trump, none of that bullshit. He's just a regular guy. He just goes there. He's got no big fucking entourage or anything. It's just him. He'll answer any question. He'll talk about whatever. Sociopaths are always down to talk. They love it. They're outgoing. He's outgoing. That's what he loves. He loves talking on the phone. He loves working people. He loves changing people's minds. He's an extrovert. He feeds on other people's energy. He doesn't want to sit at home reading fucking poetry. That's what Barron wants to do. Barron, we love you. I mean, for the real motherfuckers, they know that I've been tracing this whole motherfucker. I've been I've been embedded. I'm like an embedded reporter. I'm like undercover and I've been reporting on the stand-up comedy, right-wing, fascist, live stream. I watched WrestleMania at the Crypto Bar, right? On that Trump later campaigned at. So I've been riding the pulse of the zeitgeist, sort of in a very underground, clandestine, culturally overlooked way. It's one of my trademarks to remark on how culturally overlooked I am. But these broadcasts are important. I know that they do get through kind of scattered. I get like scattered feedback. Occasionally somebody comments on, and it's always kind of a surprise. Somebody will comment on my live stream and it's, oh, fuck, okay. So even though I'm only getting 50 views or something, that's 50 human beings, okay? They're not just clicks. It's a fucking person. It's a living, breathing fucking human being. It's not just a number. It's not just somebody look at you to view. It's not just a view, okay? It's not just engagement. That's a life with hopes and dreams and thoughts and opinions. And we're all intimately micromanaged emotionally, psychologically. And the Chinese are the masters of it. Psychological warfare. They're doing it. It's on TikTok. They're in everybody's. So I don't know. I think the United States wants to buddy up with that and toppling the United States and selling it for parts. Stripping it down, selling it for parts. They're back. It's Home Alone 2. They tried to break in the first time. They were foiled. They're back. Harry and Marv are back to fucking... Just this time they're going to steal everything. And I don't know. Public opinion, I don't know if it's the winter time. People are just so, like, sucker punched or winded or something. Taken by surprise. I think we're just in shock or something. It's like this winter has been so fucking unforgiving. These fires, the hurricane in North Carolina. It's really just been, whoa, kind of came out of nowhere. Things were great. Last summer was brat summer. It was fucking brat summer. 5 minutes ago. I mean, Charlie XCX just won her fucking Grammy. I gotta say, and I like the Dare, but he kind of was looking dated. His suit, his whole thing. It's like, dude, I love the guy. Because he seems like he just kind of made it the old-fashioned way. But I'm also just like, I don't know. It seems like it's kind of, the moment has passed. I don't know. The future is quickly bearing down on us all of a sudden. Coming out of nowhere. And we got to get with the times. What's this going to mean for us? People are going to lose Medicaid. All the federal employees are going to get fired. We can create jobs in Israel. That's what he said. We're going to go over there. It'll create jobs. It's like, what? This is their justification. They can justify anything. Oh, it's jobs. We're bringing jobs. We had to go into Iraq. We had to destroy their fucking country and kill us. It was creating jobs. We're creating jobs for their economy there. Yes, we killed a million people, but we're created 2,000 jobs for the local economy. It only cost $3 trillion. So, yeah, here we go. Gaza, USA. Gaza, USA. It's going to be what, like the Florida of... Holy cow. I don't know. I mean... This is what dictators do and tyrants. They overstep their boundaries. They invade other countries. World conquest. They make startling maneuvers. And I think certain people just want to see what Trump's going to do. He's created this whole game for a long time where everybody is just trying to guess what the fuck he's going to do and what he's thinking and what's behind what he does and what it really means. And is he thinking it out? Does he know how to read? I mean, something happened. Maybe it was the assassination attempt. I think the movie kind of also had something to do with it. It was a few things. It was almost like a perfect storm. It's like he became like some kind of lovable sitcom character or something over the last year. And the run up to the campaign. Oh fuck! I got to talk about Neil Simon. I could go on for, about Trump for it's too late. So it's almost like there's no sense in even talking about it for the next 4 years because we're fucked. So we might as well just do our thing and fuck him. Keep partying, keep having a great time. Love your friends, hang out with your friends, keep writing poetry. Write poetry against the motherfucker. Now it's like I feel for the transgender brothers and sisters and non-binary identifying, because now they really are being targeted. That is the downside of being a political lightning rod. Not that anybody chose to be, but they have been made into a battleground. Them, trans people have been made a political battleground for the last decade and beyond, but especially recently. And now, I mean, they are being targeted in a very violent, aggressive way that it is going to be important. You know, I'm just trying to stay fair and balanced. And, when the Democrats were on top, it did feel like a moment to sort of be like, okay, we can try to find, like I said, a consensus with wokeness and DEI type, quote unquote, initiatives, and just like, living our lives, that being a part of it and that being an essential part of it, but also like not being hung up all the fucking time about blah, 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 karma and 400-year-old uh and it's and obsess, not to be insensitive about that stuff, but like obsessing over and just trying to, it's so awkward. And so it was a little bit like, okay, like these people are getting attention and getting uh put, I don't know, they're getting advanced and put ahead and benefiting. Whereas now it feels like, okay, now it's now uh they need our support. Not that, and they always did, but like now it's very important because they're being targeted, and who knows what that could lead to. And I'm sure that they're not feeling well. I don't know. I can't speak for them, but I can't imagine, they're under attack, more or less, in a lot of ways now, right? And so I don't know. We're going to have to figure out politically going forward how to unite against this and in a positive way and fight it in a way that's not corny and like, oh, we're punching Nazis. I mean, we are going to have to punch Nazis, I guess, if you want to think about it in that way. But I don't know. We need some kind of like, I don't know, less corny approach. One that makes us cool again. Make the left cool again. The right is so cool, aren't they? They're going to put a U.S. military base on Gaza. Isn't that fucking super cool? I don't know. New York is an engine for progressive like advancement is faltered and stalled because it's just children of privilege. So there's no economic diversity. There might be superficial diversity in that you have rich people from all over the world, but they more or less have all the same point of view, even if they are protesting and act like they're passionate about that. They're also 20 years old and they don't really know what the fuck they're saying. Look at the way that the students in Colombia, what they're going to deport the fucking students for protesting. The Palestinian, like that's been Trump's policy the whole time. Is that kind of shit. Like, any case, let me talk about Neil Simon for 10 minutes. Because we're going to watch every single one of his films. I think there's 40 of them, maybe. And I guess I talked about it last show. There's a lot. But they go down easy. They're very easy to watch. But that's not to say that they're frivolous. They kind of... they remind me... that I think he is a poet in that what he's doing is functionally similar to what poets are doing at poetry readings, where he's writing language to be read aloud. I mean, in this case, it's acted and performed, right, in a play. That's like memorable speech, right? Like that's what Auden said poetry is, right? One of his definitions. Poetry is memorable speech. Now, I don't think that's probably the only or like a comprehensive definition of it, but let's say it is. I mean, Neil Simon, his plays do have like this rapid fire, but he's not really writing jokes. It's like there are laughs and there's memorable lines, but a lot of times he's just kind of stating the way things are, like in a funny way. He's just and it's almost like he's putting it poetically, but it's like got a comedic poetic. He's not poetic. He doesn't I don't think he does anything. He couldn't get away with that. He couldn't do anything because like I think he was trained like as a comedy writer. He was willing to cut shit if it didn't work, and he was trying to make it brief and just like everything has to work when the actor says it out loud. And I think that's one reason why his plays lasted so long and were produced as much as they were, because he really pared it down to like the essential lines. He made it pithy, memorable phrasing. He has a very distinct voice, like all great playwrights do. Mammoth, like a Neil Simon play when you hear it. And it's also a listening exercise predominantly. You can just listen to these movies almost and it's in it and you understand what's going on. And I think Neil Simon, he said something about like, most of the comedy writers that he worked with moved to LA in the late 50s to work in TV because that's where the industry went. He stayed in New York because he wanted to work in theater. There was something about doing plays, and I don't know if it was like the fact that it all takes place kind of in one duration of time in one place almost, or I don't know exactly what the draw was, but um that's something that's been a surprise to me, sort of revisiting some of the like the O'Neill plays or the Mammoth stuff, is like how closely it relates to poetry. And a lot of it is even about poets and stuff, or they mention poetry, like Eugene O'Neill stuff. He talks about Baudelaire and Long Day's Journey into Night, and uh the sequel, Moon for the Business We Got, and there's kind of similar kind of reverence for poets or whatnot. And playwrights and it is sort of just like another facility to put your poetry talent to. Because I don't know, a lot of, not all poetry, but a lot of poetry is meant to be read aloud, or it is colloquial, or it's written in kind of like common speech or the way that you talk. Like Wordsworth, right? When Lyrical Ballads came out, it sort of was controversial because he wrote the way that like a farmhand would speak, or at least that's how people perceived it when viewed against the kind of typical verse of that time, the very classical, rigorous, metered thing that people were doing. Wordsworth's stuff was blank verse, it was unrhymed, some of it, and his diction and things was like lower or more kind of like how common people spoke. It sounded like people actually talked in a way, in the same way, or at least for its time, right? It was transparent to reality for its time, and that was kind of what was revolutionary about it and kind of unrecognizable about it. And same thing with William Cullen Williams, or I don't know, really any poetry, I guess. Memorable speech. And I don't know, playwrights are sort of trying to capture memorable speech and the slant of dialogue, and and it's the juice in it is kind of coming up with these little jewels of unique phrase or word choice. Same with a poem. And so, yeah, I mean, there isn't really anything like self-consciously poetic or like even metaphorical, I would say, usually in a big way about Neil Simon's writing, as opposed to like other playwrights on stage might, like somebody like Sam Shepard, Lorca. It's more like a poem come to life or something. Um, on the stage. Uh, Neil Simon's plays are, they're drawing room comedies, or they're farce, or they're sort of like comedic melodrama or something. We watched Last of the Red Hot Lovers, Alan Arkin. It was okay. Paula Prentice. There's that's one of the wonderful things about watching all these Neil Simon movies. Is there's all these movie stars that that are not remembered, just like The Last Showgirl. Like how many people remember Paula Prentice or Marsha Mason? I had no idea who Marsha Mason was even, and she's in all of these fucking Neil Simon movies. She was nominated for Academy Awards, and I bet nobody knows who she is anymore. It's crazy how quick people forget. It's like even if you're famous for like a couple decades, like Shirley MacLaine is somebody I think about. She was like a big movie star in like the 60s, 70s, 80s. She may have even been in movies in the 50s and even into the 90s kind of. And it's like, I think she's still alive, but like who even remembers who Shirley MacLaine is? Like I'm sure a lot of people do, but she's not as famous as fucking, uh Paris Hilton or something, who doesn't even do anything. I might add. So I do have to talk about this one. We watched a couple. There was one interesting, The Star Spangled Girl. He's got a lot of titles like that. The Goodbye Girl, The Marrying Man, these alliterative, gendered. The Star Spangled Girl. It's interesting. It's kind of his like late 60s. It's about like an alternative newspaper. It's kind of his hippie play. And it's not his best play, but it's an interesting movie. It's kind of slow and kind of bad, but I don't know, within the greater body of work, it's kind of an interesting. It's his A Safe Place. It's his Henry Yoglum film. And then there's this one you really got to see. It really kind of took me off guard because I don't even think we were gonna watch it. We still haven't watched that Marsha made. Well, there was a few they made after Goodbye Girl that are sort of uh like I said, they're almost like Mazursky films. They're more cinematic. Um, they're a little more serious. They're sort of like Woody Allen movies, but they're more kind of like centered in their characterization. They're actually about characters. It's not just autobiographical. Same fucking character every movie. It's like, Alan Arkin is a restaurateur, right? And Last of the Red Hot Lovers. And uh the one you really got to see is it's called I Ought to Be in Pictures. All these movies were produced by Ray Stark and directed by Herbert Ross. And you can see them, they're variations of kind of a style and a technique and probably some kind of business package they had where it's like, okay, it costs this much and we can make we'll use this director and we'll shoot it here and we'll get this much box office or whatever. But um, this movie was pretty interesting because it was almost like his Paris, Texas. It was like, I think it came out in 82 or 83 or somewhere in there, 81, 82, 83, 84. And it's Mathau again, but it's a way more of like a real performance. It's not, it has all the Neil Simon stuff because it was a play, I guess, even though it's very cinematic. It's in LA. He's like all these artists. He kind of jumps back and forth from New York and LA, mostly in New York, but he has a lot of California stuff too. The Cheap Detective. We watched The Cheap Detective. It's like his airplane. Um, but uh I Ought to Be in Pictures. I don't know. The cinematography is really nice. Um, the pacing is nice. The shots are really well composed. There's nice color. Like, it has all of the kind of Neil Simon, like, humor, but it also the characters really you can see them feeling real shit. Mathau has some really nice moments. Like I said, he's not just doing shtick like he can do sometimes. Like, Mathau can be really funny when he's just kind of being and all that shit that he does. But in this movie, it's more like a Bill Murray kind of performance. Like, it's more like real. And I've never heard anybody mention it, but it's kind of that era of, like, they all laughed, and it's like early 80s. Um, like I said, Paris, Texas, Out of the Blue. And it has, like, just this really nice. It's amazing how when you take those characters and you put them in real situations with nice cinematography, real places, they really come to life, and it's totally believable. You can that's one of the things that's been eye-opening for me is you can take, like, really broad comedic characters in, like, kinda nutty costumes, but if you put them in real circumstances on location, it really can come to life, uh, in a very convincing way. And, yeah, this I Ought to Be in Pictures movie, it really kinda just took me off guard because with the Neil Simon stuff, you can always see how much they're trying to balance, like, do we want a lot of jokes? Do we want it to be kinda more serious? Do we want it like The Cheap Detective is, like, more of like a Mel Brooks send up kinda parody spoof movie, just a lot of jokes, a lot of jokes. It's like a making fun of the Maltese Falcon. I'm gonna get off pretty soon. Thank you for watching, the Neil Simon Festival. We watched Biloxi Blues. Biloxi Blues is one of the first movies I remember seeing ever in my life. We had a tape, I think, when I was a kid. I think we taped it off HBO or something, and I remember it being very intense. I think the movie kind of it deflates the intensity of it. The play is like feels very serious. It's like Neil Simon sort of trying to write about homosexuality or this or that, and there's like a gun in it. The movie, it has that Mike Nichols cinematography, that kind of like effulgent, kind of foaming white light. But it was good. They're all good. It's just interesting to see the Biloxi. I wish Mike Nichols had directed more Neil Simon plays as films. This is the only he directed a number of them on Broadway, right? He directed Barefoot in the Park, The Odd Couple. He directed the premieres, among other things. I think Prisoner of Second Avenue, a lot of Neil Simon plays. Mike Nichols directed the play originally, but he did not, Biloxi Blues is the only movie. And I don't think it totally works, but it's interesting. The look of it is interesting. The way he kind of cuts it all together is interesting. Um, what was the one? There was one movie that I was like, this is the Glenn Ross of Neil Simon films. Barefoot in the Park was great. I think Barefoot in the Park is a good place to start. If it's not overly Neil Simon-y, it's just kind of a cute, it's a universal couple moving in their first apartment, universal subject. It's Robert Redford and Jane Fonda, like, they're unbelievably glamorous looking. It's funny, but it's not too funny. It's not, his plays haven't aged that poorly, for stuff of that era. It's like, they're not like really racist or anything like some of that stuff can be. I did want to point out because they don't really do Neil Simon plays on Broadway anymore, which is kind of crazy. And they try to do. Broadway bound, I think, like 15 years ago, and it bombed. They closed it like immediately. But if you look at Neil Simon's arc, it starts kind of in 1960 and it goes until about 9/11. I think the last original Neil Simon play they did on Broadway was shortly after 9/11, or maybe like the early 2000s, maybe 2004. And since then, they really haven't. I think they did Plaza Suite recently. Matthew Broderick and Sarah Jessica Parker did Plaza Suite. But that was the first time in like 20 years or something it had worked. So who knows? Maybe Neil Simon is back. Maybe we need him more than ever. But I think it's interesting that it kind of coincides with 9/11. There was something about that New York that he wrote about, kind of the middle class. People living in apartments on the Upper East Side or Upper West Side. That's kind of gone. That was the end of, Felix and Oscar in New York. 9/11. Among the many things that it took from us. The Odd Couple. They moved out. They all moved to Florida with Kramer and Jerry. All right. Well, thank you for watching. We'll be back on Thursday. The InfoWars. Hopefully this stays up because I did work hard on this. And I thought this was a good broadcast. Somebody's got to say it. Even if it's just me. Please clap. I'm Mr. Please Clap. It's my job to ask people to clap. Please clap. Clapter, everybody. It's all about clapter. I want to get some of that good clapter in 25. So this is our project 2025, everybody, right here in the YouTube studio. And we will keep freedom fighting here online. Thank you for watching. Have a great night. And check out the open mic. Check out my Buddy Holly tribute. I didn't even get to talk about the day the music died. And we'll talk to you soon. We'll talk on Thursday. God bless you. God bless us. We're going to need it. Good luck to all of us because things are crazy now. We got to keep track. So we'll be making videos about it. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for watching.